So we are blessed today to have two of the eminent speakers from the industry, and it is my privilege to introduce Dr. Kovai, who has already joined. Dr. Kovai Children from TVS Motor. He has already joined in this session, and Dr. B and Mr. B.V. Gupta from JBM Auto. So Dr. Kovai Chelvam, sir, welcome, and we are really thankful to you on behalf of the BLFM community for sparing your time and for giving uh, a few moments from your busy schedule to give us some insights into your learning and your career. I'll give you just brief introduction of Dr. Kovai Chelvam. Dr. Kovai Chelvam is a production engineer, and then after that uh, he has had experience and knowledge in in many fields. For example, he's an MSc in engineering, master's degree in yoga, again for human excellence, and doctorate in philosophy. So he has huge a bunch of knowledge that he brings along with this the experience that he has had over 35 years of experience. He has been a guide and mentor to many of the leaders in the industry. And something very important about Dr. Kovai Chelvam is his passion towards education, is his passion towards training, is his passion and his zeal towards bringing the best in the people that he is leading. So, with this, sir, I request you to just take over the session and guide us through the session with your enlightening words and details.
Thank you, Mr. Tiwari.
Thank you.
So good afternoon to everyone, and it's my pleasure to be part of this VLFM community and also this VLFM Prema Manch, which is a new initiative started by VLFM community. So I shared this in the 5th batch, during the inaugural session, and I'll be happy to take you through this. So the basic theme is, all of you are familiar with 3 eyes of Buddha. And as leaders, visionary leaders, how you can leverage all the 3 eyes effectively. If you look at now, most of our companies have gone through the journey of TQM, TPM, and Lean, and which resulted in transfer of ownership for different things from the one set of people to another set of people. If you look at quality, earlier there used to be inspectors or quality department used to be responsible for quality. Now the quality has become the business of every employee in the company. Same way, continual improvement used to be done by managers in the past. Now every employee is expected to do the continual improvement. There are different schemes for it. Same way, innovation used to be done by R&D. Only one department was involved. Now today we use cross-functional team or new product development team for doing the innovation. So thus the empowerment for quality, continual improvement and innovation has passed on from the traditional functional thing to every employee in the companies. Now if you look at the next wave of disruptive change, I think we are now currently going through the disruptive change. What we were talking about is much more disruptive than what we imagined. It is volatile, quick and unexpected changes which we have seen now. Uncertainty, nobody can predict the future outcomes, and complexity, many interconnected variables, because what happened in one part of China has spread to the whole world, and countries are wondering how to cope with this change. So it's a complex, and it's not about one. So it invisible virus. We don't know how to deal with it, right? So that's a kind of a complexity, root cause and effect, and then what to do, what not to do, what are the connections. Today people are tracing the contacts and things like that. It is a complex, interconnected variables. Ambiguity, causal relationship. What is the cause? Nobody knows. There are so many WHO or many people are talking about many things, but we don't know the reality. Same way, another revolution which is happening is digital revolution with big data, machine learning, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, augmented reality, additive manufacturing. Today, additive manufacturing is becoming very, very popular. Robotics, drones, wearable devices, etc. So this will impact not only the professional life, but also personal life of all of us. I think today we are all connected through Zoom or Microsoft Teams from our own homes. We need new skills to manage this VUCA world and the digital environment. And if you look at in the past, the companies, even the colleges used to be organized in a disciplinary manner. We used to call as mechanical engineer or electrical engineer and things like that. Same way we used to have departments like R&D, production engineering, operations, manufacturing and all that. So then it became multidisciplinary. There were connections between the functions. Then it became interdisciplinary where there were overlaps between the functions. Now what is going to happen now is transdisciplinary. There are no boundaries at all. You take any product or service. So you take Amazon, the way they are able to collect the products and deliver to our homes, and the way we can search, and then the intelligence, the artificial intelligence, which can suggest and also track the past pattern of our the buying and things like that. So it is becoming highly transdisciplinary. So if you look at the McKinsey has published a lot of articles last year. So one of the article which I liked is 5 trademarks of agile organizations. According to this article, the characteristics of agile organization is network of empowered teams with alignment, accountability, expertise, transparency, and collaboration. Look at each word means a lot, and then getting that into the company is not easy at all. Operates in a rapid learning and decision cycle. We have no time to learn. I think if we look at our own previous motor journey from moped, how we have come to BMW motorcycle, we took very long time to learn from our mistakes and correct it. But today we don't have so much of time. Our learning cycle should be short and decision cycle should be very short. And that is enabled by technology, guided by powerful common purpose. How do we unite people? Transdisciplinary can happen only when there is a common purpose to co-create value to the stakeholders. And reacts by being more than just robust when faced with environmental pressure. I think all of us, we are going through the environmental pressure. The robust or agile organizations, the performance improves in such conditions. It adds to velocity and adaptability, creating, I think Japan has already issued, we have to live with Corona for next 1.5 years. They already issued guidelines how to live with Corona and things like that. So all this adds velocity and adaptability in creating so critical source of competitive advantage. Same way I went to Singapore, National University of Singapore, and we had our meeting in a center called Center for Future Ready Graduates. So they have published in fact, I was curious to understand how they prepare future ready graduates. So I went through their research. They talk about 4 major factors which determine the future ready graduates. One is curiosity, seeking new experiences outside current skill sets. Many times we talk about job rotation. How people are seeking job rotation outside their current skill set. Many times we are comfortable doing what skills we have acquired over a period of time. And I'm embracing change with enthusiasm. Anything new, how people can get engaged. Second is engagement using empathy. Connect with hearts and minds to deliver shared objectives and contribute to team without expectation in return. Many times we always know whenever we do something, whether it is for the company, for others, we always expect something in return. So empathy expects we do something without any expectations in return. Third is about insight, self-awareness. Many times, no, we are not aware of we attended a program in Singapore, that is Center for Creative Leadership. That was the first time we all went through 360-degree feedback. So what we think about ourselves and what our peers, our bosses, or the subordinate think about ourselves, completely different. So that self-awareness is important. Think strategically to deal with the complexity. That's very important. In a complex world, connecting dots, because there are interconnected world we live in. So connecting the dots are very important. And fourth one is determination, clarity on goal that provides energy, how the goal itself can provide energy to us. And fortitude to fight. So many times, no, always we may not win when we have a goal and work for it. So how, when we have a setback, how do we bounce back from setback is very important. And the last one is very important because many of us know we don't have hobbies. Many times people are so much preoccupied with what they do in their role in the company. When they go home, they don't have hobbies compared to the Western world. The number of people in India having hobbies are very, very different. Whenever I talk to our engineers, I ask them how many of you have hobbies. All of them will raise their hands. Then I ask them, tell me on a daily or a weekly basis how many hours you spend for that hobby. That will determine whether it is a hobby or it is just a wish. Then only about 5% of the people will raise their hands. That shows India, no, we are not actively involved things outside our work. I think that's very, very important. That recharges us to come back with more energy. Now what is going to happen with the digital revolution is empowerment of decisions are going to happen. Digital revolution will result in democratization of, like I have talked about quality and then the innovation and continual improvement. Digital revolution will bring information to every people and dashboards will be available to every person. Then people can take decision on their own. Now they may be looking for the manager or the higher ups for the decision. Today, once the information is available and clarity is available, what decision will work, then the decision is going to be made by everyone. But we need to empower them to make the right decision. And if you look at Toyota production system, hand-ons or the empowerment, actually the people, anybody having problem on the assembly line, they can stop. Then the supervisor or team leader has to rush and then support them. So that is about now stopping the line is an empowerment. And the quality is not okay or some problem is there, that is an empowerment. So like same way with the digital information available, the people will be making decision. But we need to establish a live decision support system. And few decisions can be even automated. Many times now we don't have to make decision. The machine learning and artificial intelligence can take its own decisions. And we need transdisciplinary projects by critical mass of community. And critical mass of practitioners will evolve into a community. I think that way VLFM is a community of practice. That's how I look at it. And this another framework we got from Professor Shuda, who has been our mentor for 25 years. And he talks about 3 I's, but only thing is those 3 I's are distributed over the levels in the organization. If you look at the bottommost level, the shop floor worker or operator or the supervisor next to them, they have to spend more time on retainment. That is done through daily work management. Then if you look at the middle level, they will also do some improvement through quality circle or suggestion scheme. If you take the middle manager, they take little time for retainment, but more time for improvement and little bit of breakthrough. And if you look at senior people, I think all of you are in a leadership position. You are supposed to spend more time into breakthrough and improvements and very little time for daily work management. But it is easier said than done. So how to make it happen is a big challenge. So I like to ask all of you, which is the most challenging I to deal with? Retention, improvement, or breakthrough? Maybe if you can unmute and you can respond.
I think breakthrough.
Breakthrough.
Breakthrough is more important. Okay.
Or challenging.
Yeah, in my view, improvement is more important because always we can focus on a continuous improvement. We can retain and we can make breakthroughs also.
Which is difficult. Yeah. Okay. So
by sustaining the improvement is sustaining and retaining the status is important.
Okay. So if you look at
I would say, Shankar here, I would say it's important to focus all of them at the same time. It is a cycle. So creating a breakthrough is the biggest challenge. But once you have created a breakthrough, the next challenge comes is how to retain it. And this continuous circle has to go on like a spiral. And I would say maintaining the spiral is the biggest challenge.
Okay, but if you want to build a house, what is the first starting point?
Yeah, you have to start with control. Retention.
The foundation, no?
Yeah. Foundation is important.
Which is the foundation?
Retention.
I think if you look at the order in which we have to build, I think without foundation we can't raise the structure. Without raising the structure, we can't bring interior, all the architects who can do the whole beautiful house. So the starting point is the foundation. Foundation is about retention. It is about standardization, and it is about the robust daily work management. And next comes the improvement across the organization, everybody getting involved at from gross level. Then we have to empower them. Without retention, do you think as Indian companies, we have a strong foundation with the daily work management for retention?
This is Vakil here. I don't think we have the strong foundation to follow the standards on the shop floor.
Yeah,
it is very, very weak area. According to me, it is the very weakest area for us.
Yeah.
We want to do the continuous improvement, but we don't want to follow the standards, which are the most basic.
Yeah, I think it's very important that Indian companies have to focus on building. Now, because last 10 years I have been working with Toyota, we have very good relationship. If you take the Toyota's production system, the team member and team leader, they make sure 95% efficiency is achieved without anybody coming nearby. I think that's a kind of strong daily work management. Then people in the next level, they are having time for improvement. Next level is having time for breakthrough. Now today, if you look at most Indian organization, people do 1 or 2 level below their jobs, because they're always firefighting or crisis management and things like that, because the daily work management or the foundation is not strong enough. So we need to develop continual improvement capabilities at all levels with methodologies and customized tools. One tool or few set of tools will not be possible for all the people. And if these two capabilities are well established, then the senior management will have adequate time for breakthrough. Then it is also, they have to have some sophisticated tools for breakthrough improvement as well. It's all about the balance between efficiency and effectiveness. And if you look at daily work management, it's all about efficiency. And the improvement and breakthrough is all about effectiveness, right? So this model which I have been evolving. So here I have put certain things. If you look at now, there are two opposites or contrast. So one, either you can solve problem, or you can seek opportunity or decision making or innovation you can do. These are two extremes. And when we talk about problem solving, either why we have to solve problem, because problem is created in the first place. Who creates the problem? So there are 3 sources of problem creation. One is the weak retention and control. The same problem comes back again, we have to solve the problem. Second, all the upstream people who are setting up or designing a new product or new process, new production line, they in the upstream, they don't take care of the FMEA or the proactive controls. That is really resulting in problem in the downstream. They have to solve the problem. Or the leaders who make decision based on the gut rather than data-driven decision making. Then that gut-based decision making, downstream we face a lot of problem. When suppose some states give some incentive, we go and set up plant there. Then we realize no, fixed costs have gone up. Okay, then our supply chain did not move with us, only the company has gone. Then we realize no, then that's a wrong decision. That's a gut-based decision. It's not a data-driven decision. So that's the kind of extremes. So when we talk about problem solving, either it can be proactive or upstream, or it can be value creation, or it can be reactive, downstream, and waste elimination as a focus, and gut based. Same way when we talk about opportunity seeking or decision making, it can be intuition based or data driven. I think all the things that I have marked in amber, I call it as efficiency zone. All the things which are in green, I call it as effectiveness zone. Which is more important, effectiveness first or efficiency first? As visionary leaders, where should you focus?
Effectiveness first.
Effectiveness first. Then do we have the right tools to deal with effectiveness? So if you look at now, actually in my view, the decisions have to be made or opportunity based on the combination of intuition, not gut. I also differentiate between gut and intuition. And intuition requires mindfulness. I think many of the Buddhist sect now, they have promoted this mindfulness. Vipassana and all these exercises are based on mindfulness. So we need a good combination of intuition and data driven. That way I look at FSDP is a level of thought and level of experience, and WV model now, you go between the level of thoughts, level of intuition, level of thoughts and level of experience. Intuition and data, both are important. Same way we need quantitative methods like OR being used for the optimization. We need system thinking. We need theory of constraints, because in theory of constraints, it's not about the utilization which is important, throughput is important. Same way if you want to understand the customer better, road trip, how do you understand the latent needs of customers? That is very important. Same way when we design a new product or new processes, DFX, it's not about one thing, DFX stands for multiple things. Whereas the efficiency part can be done with normal QC story or Six Sigma decision support system, all that. So, but we have to strengthen the weakness, weak retention and control through PDCA and standardized work. That's where we have to focus on. Now, to do that, we need to create the communities of practice in each of the tools. I think last few years, we have been working on creating community of practice, because if you look at experts in each of this tool, what I have referred to, there may be a handful of people in the company who can do that. But that's not enough. We need a community of practice to do that. So community of practice is group informally bound together by shared expertise and passion, and share their knowledge and experiences in free-flowing, creative ways. And COP helps to drive strategies, solve problems quickly, and transfer best practices and develop professional skills. But we need a good prerequisites for COP is a good infrastructure, opportunities to learn and apply, and methods to assess the value of a COP, and official sponsor and senior management to listen to them. The last 3 years, we have worked with NITI and Purdue. We created the first community of 60 strong COP for operations research with a sponsor, CEO as the sponsor. And we had a core team from the company and also from NITI and Purdue. Formal competency development, because this involves a lot of mathematical modeling. We started with Maths Foundation, then Yellow Belt, Green Belt. Yellow Belt was done by NITI, Green Belt was done by Purdue, and high impact action learning projects. All these people have taken very challenging projects, breakthrough projects, and planning for Black Belt with the Purdue now, and nomination of few people who are very passionate for even masters and PhD in quantitative methods, and visibility to top and senior management. Our chairman, our CEO, they all listen to them. Now there was a BLT session, business leadership team session, and we formulated this COP very officially. Now they are going to make their own thing. If you look at the impact, the critical mass of 60 managers have become qualified for Green Belt, and 14 projects were done by the first batch. Second batch also another 12 projects. That has given 100% payback. I think the doing a program with Purdue doesn't cost less. It is about 3.5 crores, but they have saved one-time saving of about 5 crores, and there is a recurring saving of about 10 crores. So there is a huge opportunity like this. Other tangible benefits include the weekly color model service level went up from 60% to 95%, 40% space saving in the warehouse, scope to reduce the number of warehouses. We have regional warehouses we can reduce, and 20% increase in productivity. And intangible benefits include traffic reduction, ergonomics improvement, lesser risk of non-moving stock also, and reduction in export box damages. So all these benefits we could realize through this community. Now this community is formally launched. Now we have many more strategic areas. We are now working with IIT Kharagpur for reliability engineering, and we are working with IAFT. There is one more community of the IB business, international business experts. Forming and joining, we have partnered with TWA, with the Welding Institute in Cambridge, and also there is one more advanced forming institute in Strathclyde University in Scotland. Project management, we are working with IPMA, TRIS as another tool, Roadtrip, FSTP, DFX, data analytics and machine learning. And last one, but not the least, is mindfulness. Here also we want to start working to create a community of practice. So if you look at the VLFM community, whenever they attend the classes, the 5 modules, go to Japan, the kind of mindset all of you go through, which we can see, the people can see for themselves and even others can see, family can see. But when they go to workplace, how many of them are able to sustain that mindset? That's a big question mark. Are you able to influence others, or you get influenced by others? Is another question I like to leave it to this team. And what is required to sustain your mindset, new mindset? Can you become a community within your company? And can you become a community in the region or nationally? I think that way this VLFM Prema Munch is a good opportunity to connect all the people. So critical mass of practitioners are essential. And if you send only 1 or 2 people for any program, it is not going to make a difference. That's why we adapted COP. Now even the VLFM community in our company, now they are trying to see how they can consolidate themselves into a community of practice. And then they can take up many initiatives. Can you develop your own VLFM program? So if you have a critical mass, can it be cascaded? Can you become the teachers and who can do the VLFM program? I think one of the way the VLFM now the central team can support is how do we develop master trainers in each of the company, and then can we have the modules done in the company? Can the VLFM program happens in every company which has got the critical mass of people? Transformation and breakthrough can happen by common purpose, not as individual. We need a team, and otherwise individuals can get lost in our role. So I like to end my thing with this, a quote from Dr. Deepak Chopra. So about 15 years back, he came for a conference in Jaipur. So it came in the newspaper. I noted it down. And at that time, I didn't understand anything about this. But now I am able to live this in my own life, which talks about the most fundamental level of reality, the being level from which everything comes and everything returns to. The second level is the feeling, highest feeling of love, compassion, equanimity, and joy. Third level is thinking in terms of imagination and creative processes. Fourth level is doing. If you look at now the doing, thinking, feeling, and being. And if you look at many organizations, if you look at even very senior people, what time they spend for each one of this? What do you think? So where do people think most of their time? Maybe if you can respond. Yes.
Yeah, I think doing is the area where they spend, lot of
doing is more. So if people know, they instead of spending so much of time for doing, if they move little time for thinking and little time for feeling, and then get into being, what can happen is, motto in life, do less and accomplish more. Ultimately do nothing and accomplish everything. I think that is ultimate of breakthrough, isn't it? So I wish the VLFM graduates to migrate from doing to thinking, feeling and being, by which you can accomplish everything, do nothing and accomplish everything. At least we can start with do less and accomplish more. I think in the other model also, if you spend more time on effectiveness, we can actually avoid a lot of problems. Then our efficiency can be improved. But today we are focusing more on efficiency by doing. But if you want to move into effectiveness, then we need to move into thinking, feeling, being. I think with this, I'm sure all of you will be successful in whatever you do. I wish you all the very best. Thank you so much.
I'll just firstly like to thank Mr. B.B. Gupta for joining us and for blessing the VLFM community. And he had a quick short introduction of Mr. Gupta. I'd like to say that Mr. Gupta has been a member of VLFM governing board. He is a true champion of VLFM. He has been a true supporter of the VLFM community, and he is a mechanical engineer. He has done his mechanical engineering from IIT Roorkee, and thereafter he has worked in various positions, in various domains, in various venues of the organization, managing business, managing plants, managing all sorts of directions of a business. He has had more than 45 years of experience, and presently as president and business head of auto component business. And one important thing about him is that he is actively engaged with doing something good for the society, for people. He has been actively engaged with some of the industry associations and some of the professional bodies to disperse his wisdom and to give his knowledge, share his knowledge with the community. So, sir, on behalf of the VLFM community, I once again thank you, and sir, it's over to you to guide us and to help us learn something from your pool of knowledge and wisdom, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saresh. And good afternoon, everyone. We have more than 100 here, VLFM community. Today, I have learned something new from Dr. Powai. It's important to be being, then feeling, then thinking, and then doing. So it's something very great to learn. And I'd like to understand more from him. He has practically demonstrated, he has practically given you the various processes, what he is practicing and what he is teaching to others. Very, very encouraging, very inspiring, every step what he has talked about it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to tell you about the experience of JBM Group, how the JBM Group has been using this adversity situation and converting them to an opportunity. Some of my experience, some of the experience of JBM Group, our respected chairman, I'll be just informing you. Thank you for joining this Prerna Manch organized by CII for the VLFM community. I hope every one of you is doing well and keeping themselves and their loved ones quite safe and healthy. This unprecedented time of our economy as well as automotive industry, including our own personal life, is something which is very unique, unique in the century, and which we don't want to see it and repeat it in our life. Automotive industry, after showing promising start in the last year, I want to take you a year before, 18-19, declined in later part of it, which was further compounded due to the COVID-19. This pandemic has made such a serious impact across all the sectors of our economy. A future impact is difficult to forecast and yet to be experienced. Such adverse and challenging situation can many of the time weaken, I'm repeating, such situation can weaken many promising mind but can also become opportunity for the strong minds, especially for the people like you who have been trained by the visionary leader and reputed professor like Shoji Shiba. I'm very sure various managers and entrepreneurs who have undergone this training program have a strong shield to convert such difficult situation into the opportunity. JBM Group history signifies something like this and some replicas like that. Our respected chairman, Mr. Arya, started JBM Group in 1983 by setting up an LPG cylinder manufacturing plant in Faridabad. I hope the people who have memories of that time, we used to wait for months and years to get an LPG cylinder. And LPG cylinder was an industry which was very promising and rising. Suddenly, there was an excess capacity and drop the purchases of government. At that time, a plant of manufacturing LPG cylinder was sitting idle. Our chairman saw that factory has no work. This was a big jolt for a young person who came from Bombay to Delhi to set up this factory. There was two choices, either close down and go back to his parental business of his textile, or convert this opportunity, convert this shock to an opportunity. He started contacting various automotive OEMs in NCR. With his persistent efforts, he secured orders of manufacturing small sheet metal parts by using the same processes like metal stamping, welding, painting, assembly, what is used in LPG cylinders. During this period, he came across the opportunity of a joint venture with Maruti Udyog, and the rest is a history, which I think most of the automotive industry knows that after signing and working with a joint venture with Maruti Udyog, how the JBM has grown. With a small start of manufacturing automotive components in late 80s, today JBM Group is a conglomerate of auto component. We are OEM, like we manufacture buses, CNG buses, electrical buses. We have e-mobility vertical. We have renewable energy vertical. We have solar power, waste to power, railways. Automotive components has more than 60 manufacturing facilities today at 25 global locations with a turnover of around $2 billion. So that had been the history, that opportunity where he would have gone back to his textile industry, but ultimately he fought for this and converted that opportunity. This is what an entrepreneur with a persistence efforts can convert opportunity from an adversity. VLFM program teaches a very holistic approach. That's what I've learned from my people who have joined this program. Considering various factors like technology changes, global changes, regulatory changes, manufacturing changes, social changes, and environmental changes. This program expands the view to develop the leadership behavior in managing these changes and converting them to your own benefits. The approach covers complete breakthrough management, vertical or horizontal exploration, co-creation, or understanding customers' voice to make it a big benefit. That's what I understood. And I think that they have not only practicing, the people who have undergone this training in JBM Group, practicing this internally and train a lot of people under them. Similarly, during mid-90s, we saw a government brought in major regulatory changes in delicensing Indian automotive industries. JBM Group took few important decisions for their future growth. We saw at that time that international competition will come in and they will set up factories along with the traditional OEMs with whom they have been working for decade long. Like OEM from Japan, OEM from Korea, Europe from Europe, US, they will come. They are coming to India and bringing their own partners to set up factories into the area where JBM was working. This was the time what JBM took a decision not to compete but to collaborate. That's the way our growth started. We expanded geographically close to the manufacturing facilities of every OEM being set up pan-India. We either set up our own plants or collaborated with the key overseas suppliers who wanting to come or who were asked to come by the OEM in our field. This gave us huge learning opportunities through our collaborators and working with different OEMs. We had the mission, we created a mission like JBM part inside every automotive manufacturer in the country, something similar to built inside every computer. And that's what we have been able to succeed that today. More than 95% of automotive manufacturers, whether it's a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, passenger vehicles, tractors, or construction equipment, we see a JBM part inside that automotive. That is again an example of how JBM Group, our chairman, changed that major regulatory change, which he saw, and he would have either shrinked due to the various competitors coming in from outside, or use that as a platform and convert that as an opportunity, as a learning process and expanding process across the Pan-India. 18-19, we took like 18-19, as I told you, that there was a 15 to 20% degrowth in every segment of automotive industry, whether it is two-wheeler or construction equipments or commercial vehicle or passenger vehicle. We initiated a very unique program called eCube. eCube stands for excellence, E for excellence, E for EBITDA, E for employees, for existence. So that was a program which we launched, designed, launched, eCube. Every employee of the organization across Pan-India from different locations were involved into this momentum. We gave a training, local training at different levels to see that they contribute and participate into this eCube project. We organized weekly performance reviews instead of monthly performance. We converted our cash flow management bi-weekly in place of monthly. That helps us to reduce inventories. That helped us to realize many of the debtors because old pending. And by this all, we could achieve substantial cost reductions, and our managed EBITDA percentage better than what it was a year before. While at a 20% sales down, you will see the EBITDA will drop down more than 30-40%. But here we could, due to all this initiative, we could achieve percentage EBITDA more than what it was in the previous year. Now coming to the present situation, with the latest pandemic of COVID-19, the entire JBM leadership again has worked tirelessly and analyzed what do we do right from the month of the March onwards, what needs to be done, and what should be our actions. We are working tirelessly over the past few months to ensure and navigate through this difficult period so that we can come out even stronger out of this with the capability and a resilience to take any challenges head on. To share a few examples, the entire leadership has committed to ensure more focus on business operations by organizing daily virtual sunrise and sunset meetings. We across Pan-India in the morning for 45 minutes and in the evening 45 minutes have sunrise meeting where almost 20 top leadership come through team meetings, discusses the various challenges has been faced, share experiences of each other and help each other to see how do we come out of this. And the sunset meetings are done by the individual leadership with his top leadership in the different regions so that they are ready for the next step on. In addition to this, our chairman had multiple town halls across all the units and functions, geographically covering more than 1,500 employees. The objective of this town hall was multifold. Primary, to keep connected with the people under the time of this anxiety and depression, as many people talk about it, motivate them and keep it connect. We understood the status of the situation from these town hall meetings, and we thought over the various processes, various ways of changing our work, and that was brought in by collectively on the table. You'll be amazed, and that during this town hall meeting, we collected more than 1,100 plus ideas, which were summarized, brought into actions and projects for controlling cost, optimizing safety, especially safety and health has been very important. Innovations and revenue growth and many more. One of the ideas came through this. We converted this program called a LEAP program, LEAP. L stands for leadership, E stands for excellence, A for agility, and the people. That also have said that unless we have agility and everyone is involved into excellence, and leadership also follows into this, it will be difficult for us to tide over the present COVID adversity. The initiative of this kind truly reflects our people first policy, and which is aiming to unlock the true potential of each of our employee by focusing on its performance, its engagement, and its productivity. Just to add along with this, COVID-19 period has made this organization and across the globe relies on the power of need of the digital ways of working. This again, you can see that instead of meeting it personally, digital ways of working becoming so important. Keeping this in our mind, our focus also has been to move towards more digital ways of working, and now going forward to identify and unlock more and more opportunities to leverage upcoming technology and tools to optimize our business processes. Just to share an example, in the past, our chairman or myself used to have plant visits and plant rounds. Now we have started virtual plant reviews being organized across units. The aim is to substitute a physical plant tool with a virtual tool, wherein more people can join and effectively participate. In one of our virtual tools, we see more than 60-65 people are able to connect, while in our personal tools, not more than 7 to 10 people were able to connect while moving through. This has helped us to optimize cost, as well as focused on reviews of operation through virtual mechanism, and regularly monitor the various improvement projects which are being taken by the people into their respective locations. And to ensure digital becomes a way of life at JBM, we have set up a function at the group level called digitization, which will cover not only the various steps in this direction and move also identify a potential to implement artificial intelligence, especially into the manufacturing industries. This is one of the example, like our people, a small team within JBM came forward, and we added, with the help of some outside support, developed through artificial intelligence 2-3 small software to manage this present COVID and Corona. We have developed face recognition while your mask is on, right at the time of the gate. Arogya Setu, ensuring Arogya Setu is green, and monitoring temperature through the systems. And parallelly, whatever the cameras were installed inside the system on a cloud-based programs, we have also initiated a social distancing tools, wherein we get alarm signals whenever we find that more than the people come in contact or they come closer to 2 meters. You know, the alarms are there, SMSs are there, signals are there, and we have implemented in just a span of 1 month in all our 43 locations across the pan India, just to manage our health and the safety of the people at home. With these initiatives and improvement project, which are long-term focus, will take us to the next journey, which we are moving towards 2025. We are identifying various companies who are not able to sailing through the present crisis, trying to create partnership or merge them or acquire them to see that we expand our business. The JBM Group, as myself is personally involved into that, are really thankful to this VLFM program that has emphasized that every manager need to change their behavior, which is more visible to demonstrate their mindset change and behavioral transformation. This is my personal experience in one of the sessions which I have attended. And I have been thinking throughout my 46 years of life, everybody says change mindset, change mindset, change mindset. But how to measure the change in mindset? How do we know the mindset has changed? And I remember Professor Sivasuji's words saying that what you can feel, what you can experience, change of mindset is happening by seeing the behavioral changes in the people. If the behavioral changes in the people are not happening, there's no mindset is changing. It is only the word, and that's what I think is being taught, and that is a very good thing to learn from here. I see this quality in all our leadership who have undergone this training, not only in themselves, but also in the team they have trained inside our companies, the VLFM people, the people who have undergone this VLFM training. We see the role of leadership in the changing situation like COVID-19 for adoption of new normal. We are talking about not normal. Everything has to be a new normal. Same normal which used to be before March is no more a normal. What are the new normal conditions? That's absolutely being redescribed, re-explained, recreated. All traditional method will have to be relearned by taking technology as an enabler. With a strong mind, many opportunities are available to us through this Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan from our honorable prime ministers. Like many opportunities are coming through, big, small, to India. And I can personally feel heat. I'm using the word heat from our customers who have been importing various items overseas, and they want to localize it and asking us which of the company can come forward and take steps to localize all those items. These are the opportunities in front of us. This is the time wherein customer first attitude, and I think listen, and finding solution by jumping into the fish ball is the only way to react, respond, and thrive to come out of this biggest challenge of this landscape. In this, I'd like to just leave it open for the discussion. What I have done, I've just explained the JBM journey, how the JBM from time to time has been converting various adversities or difficult situation to an opportunity of sustaining it, retaining it, and continuously improving it. Not only continuously improving it, making some breakthrough thinking and challenging the situation and moving forward. Thank you very much for this patience listening, and any specific questions on JBM Group, I would be happy to answer to you people. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And if we can have one or two questions, kindly raise your hands, unmute yourself, and then we can pose the questions to the speaker. Hello.
Yeah, I think Mr. Milind, yeah.
Yeah. Hello. Good afternoon.
Yes.
Thanks for presentation. I would like to ask Mr. Gupta. He was telling he has mentioned that he has implemented something in his 43 plants to ensure social distancing. Some system he was talking.
Right, Milind. Where are you located? Which location are you located?
I'm in Aurangabad.
You're in Aurangabad. You can see this. Which company are you from?
Nendres and Hauser, Aurangabad.
Right. So we have created a cloud-based solution wherein all the cameras which were already available in our plant, taking pictures of the various people inside the locations like canteen, the shop floor, the toilets, the conference rooms. And whenever the two people come closer to each other, the distance is measured automatically and the alarms are raised to the identified, each area is identified with certain number of the person. And the alarm goes to his phone, or SMS goes to his phone, or some kind of escalation goes to those locations. And at the end of the day, we create a small report from this, which areas, like every plant is identified into 35 to 40 locations. Each location has maximum number of alarms. So that supervisor of that area can take necessary actions of people not coming in close touch. That solution is available in Aurangabad plant, has been visualized. Milind Jathar is the unit head. I can always connect you with him and you can physically see that. And we are happy to install similar solutions of anyone. It doesn't cost much. It is using your existing infrastructure, existing computers, existing cameras, and we can install this solution in your location.
Okay. I will be definitely in touch with Mr. Jathar.
Yes, he can explain you more. If you want to install in your place, we can arrange it.
Okay, thank you.
You can visit and I will show you all the facilities.
Yeah.
Milind is already a BLFM member.
Yeah, this is Mr. Milind. This is also shared in Bava group. So all information has been shared. You can contact me anytime. I will show you all the system.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Milind. Anybody else?
Mr. Vishal.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a question for Mr. Kovai. Has used a term named mindfulness in his presentation, and he has shown that he will be collaborating with some of the institute or some of the training institutes kind of stuff for getting it explored. So I want to understand from him, mindfulness has been treated as a management term or the medical state of any of the person? Just to understand the philosophy behind.
Yeah, actually, if we look at the philosophy of mindfulness, no, being in the present, I think even if you listen to some of the spiritual people, I think every day we go through 40 to 50,000 thoughts a day. And most of the thoughts, if you look at now, it is about the past or the future. When we are doing something, are we paying full attention to what we are doing? I think that is about mindfulness. And being in that state, then your attention to what you do can actually give better. You will be able to perform the task better than what otherwise you can do. So, but there are Vipassana is one of the technique now which is being done in many places, and that really teaches. I think Buddhist philosophy teaches mindfulness as a technique which we can practice. Also, there are many books available on mindfulness, which we have not yet started, but I have a plan. So I showed you many tools that we are requiring as community of practice, as mindfulness as one of, and also I have told you, if you look at level of thoughts and level of experience, when we do the problem solving, that level of thoughts itself, no, if you are able to go to the highest level, I think one more thing that happens is when you are present, concentration is in the present, your even mental frequency comes down. At that time, the quality of decisions that you can take also better. Problem solving, when you look at the level of thoughts, when you focus your attention and intuition, I think intuition, one more thing you must have heard Sister Shivani from Brahma Kumaris, she says intuition is nothing but tutor within. Many times there is a tutor within keep telling us something, but many times we are lost in the external world, so we don't listen to the tutor within. I think in a meditative state, when the mental frequency comes down, when mindfulness is practiced as a practice at all times, we'll be able to pay attention better to the situation and we'll be able to come up with better solution. That's what mindfulness means.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I think so many questions that there are many questions with the kind of invigorating knowledge that we are getting. Many people must be wanting to ask a question, but for the paucity of time and for the work of time, I will now restrict the amount of questions. You can definitely send in the questions and we will be glad to forward those questions to Kovai sir and Dr. Mr. Gupta, both of them. Now I request our Guru, our mentor, GS sir, to just pitch in and maybe it's already 1:10. I know we are late, but I'll request GS sir to just pitch in and just enlighten us with some of the conclusion and summary and some enlightening words which he always does. GS sir, over to you.
Thank you, Sailesh, and thank you, Kovai. Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for your wonderful talk. We have all been talking about COVID, and how the hell to address COVID. And I find that you just changed the last two letters of COVID from ID to AI. We have a solution to Kovai. So it is so easy to attack the COVID with the wisdom that Kovai has given us today. And if you have any doubts whether it can be applied in a real life, I think we had Gupta telling us that actually it can be applied, and it has resulted in a great amount of benefits to the company. So I think that this is a great input that we got, Kovai. And thank you, Mr. Gupta, for your sharing. Because in a pandemic like this, with everybody is kind of drowning in his own tensions and pressures, you need some straw to catch on to say there is life and there is hope, and then we can try and get things out onto this. Now, it is absolutely criminal to make any summary or essence out of it. But in some sense, if I say, what's my pick? I think Kovai mentioned that we need to rapidly learn, and we don't have all the time of the last 2 decades or 3 decades that we had to learn. We got to do that much, much better. All I can add to that is what Professor Shiba says, don't worry for perfection. 60% right is okay, just get on and get on to doing things. Your learning cycle will be absolutely faster. The issue is not that you solve the problem 100%. The issue is that you got started to work towards the solution. And I think Kovai's inspiration was really, really great. The other thing that comes out, and for all of us in VLFM, it's very important to understand the 4 words that Kovai talked about, which is the, being, feeling, thinking, and doing. I mean, there's a lot of wisdom into it. In some sense, we definitely not doing. We, in some sense, we also knew the thinking because FSDP and all of these techniques allowed us to do that. It is the being which was more subtle in VLFM. It is that noble mind that allows us to be and to be really what we ought to be in a pandemic like that. But Kovai, what was the most impressive is the word feeling. Unfortunately, in VLFM, when we put tremendous pressure on people that it should be 4W1H, 4W1H, it should be fact, we try to undermine the feeling. But the force of action, the force of getting out from a trouble, the force of striving ahead is an emotional force and not a logical force. So we got to have feeling. And I think the word intuition is very closely related to feeling. You feel that there is a way out. You feel that you ought to do it. And I'm really grateful for this group of VLFM people that you try to bring about this. And this. By the way, those who have done the module 4 in co-creation and experience have experienced that we cannot stop feeling. We only convert the feeling into something concrete that we can recreate such feelings, and we are able to get the best out of the customers. From Mr. Gupta, I think it is just that example of how you try to get out from your crisis out. It reminds me of this experience that what does an entrepreneur do? There's a big difference between an entrepreneur and a normal, manager. Basically, if you get a message that there are 10 people likely to come for dinner tonight in the next 3 hours, what will you do? A typical professional cooking, person would land up taking a recipe. He said, oh, this is the menu that I will do. This is what I'll do. He'll bring it down to bill of material and say, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this. But a professional entrepreneur will simply go to the fridge and say, what do I have inside? I have these 2 vegetables and this is what I've got there. And I'll try and cook a meal out of it to the people within the 3 hours. If you go by the recipe method and go around finding things and buying things, you're going to be taking a lot of time. And for all you know, you may not get a few things. I really learned from the JBM's experience that it is your existing core competencies that are going to be the fastest way to get out of this mess. And try and repurpose your competencies of sheet metal, repurpose your competencies that you have. The idea is repurpose. There is another major purpose coming up. Our purpose was something in the past. Can we repurpose it in a way to get something which is there? So what is in the fridge is the most important. And maybe you have to do this with co-creation. But this co-creation is not so much with customers. You can't touch them, you can't feel them, you can't go anywhere closer to them. But it is possible to do digitally with suppliers and bring the kind of a co-creation and synergy of the suppliers. There is something which is common between the two and which is absolutely important, which is the 3 eyes of the Buddha. Professor Shiba's wisdom is very simple, that keep your eyes of control open, keep your eyes of continuous improvement open so that you get efficiency as well as competitiveness. And of course, keep your eyes of breakthrough open. All these 3 eyes have to be open all the time. And that is what is called ambidextrous leadership. I think both the speakers have been able to give several examples of how they have managed this whole thing in an ambidextrous manner. But after all of this, I have listened to Kovai, I have listened to Gupta ji, I have listened to so many other people. When I get back, it reminds me, how do I drive? I think I don't look at the TV screen. I don't look at the rear view mirror. I don't look at the passengers who are. I don't look at who did what in the past. I look at my windscreen. I'll see the threat as well as opportunity. If I'm able to take the experiences of Kovai, the wisdom of Kovai, the wisdom of JBM, wisdom of Dr. Gupta, and all of that, but translate it into my windscreen to be able to take my calls and my actions, I think that I would be able to kind of sail through this. But if I take every piece of whatever the people have said and say that every piece of it should be applied in my windscreen, in my situation, that might be a very difficult thing. And perhaps you might go wrong if you try to do that. Pick the wisdom that you want. Pick the information that you would want. Pick the insights that you would want, and make your own concoction of what you're going to do and what are you going to be facing. All these talks are telling us is there is a way forward, there is a way out, and there is a great opportunity lying in front of us, ahead of us, and so we should look with. And one caution, don't look at the rearview mirror, because your past is not going to come back to you in the future. So all your learnings of the past are useful, but the issues that you had in the past are not going to be there. This is a new world, this is a new normal, and this is a completely transformating knowledge. So this, in a way, is the way that I really look at it. I once again thank Kovai, I thank Gupta, and I thank all of you for being with us from time to time. In some sense, the essence of what Kovai was talking about was the community of practice. The community of practice is, the first thing is practice, 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 practice. And the second part is do it in community, don't do it alone. And when you bring a set of people closer together who all practice together, I think you have no COVID that is ever going to hurt you. And there's going to be only opportunities beyond the COVID that you can really cross. So thank you all. And at this point in time, I would like to hand it back to Sailesh to take the journey forward. Thanks, Sailesh. Thank you, Kovai, again.
Thank you. Yes.
For this.
Sir, the kind of session that we have had, it only makes us wanting more and more and more of wisdom. But since we have to keep it limited and it's already time, I'll say that we need to close this now. A quick global